Okay, so here we are in the code. A project, of course, usually in Webslides, it works differently than your classical PowerPoint project. In PowerPoint, you just have one file. In Webslides, you have a folder where your resources are in. And if you pass it around, you need to pass around the folder. You can inline all of this stuff into one file, but it gets cluttered too much and makes no sense. So I really prefer it this way. Now, the main file is the index.html, which is basically your HTML file where you code your presentation, and there you have all the resources, the pictures or videos. And then here the libraries which you include. You don't need to have them here. You can also get them from the internet, but usually my problem is that I have offline presentations, so I always put them here that I am kind of safe. Okay. Also here I have my own program functions in, so I also of course program own functions. So my presentations are kind of growing over time. The more presentations I give, the more editing and things I put in. And regarding CSS, which is for styling, um, most people are very afraid. I myself was too when I started it, but it's actually quite a beautiful way to style things really nicely. Um, I really love it because with not much effort you can make it very beautiful, where in PowerPoint I would really struggle a lot more, and I can carry on these templates in these classes and just give these names to the elements, other elements later on, and I have it all very uniform and structured. PowerPoint is much more hustle to configure things for me and stuff. Okay, so here we go. This is the main file. Um, it usually starts off like a usual HTML file with your header, um, where you kind of include all the libraries and style sheets and all of it. And then after that, you basically are free to go. I put, of course, in a certain background of this space. Then here's the hyper, the warp effect thingy. You don't necessarily need it. Usually you would just omit this one. Um, then of course you have the main and article part starting for web slides, and then you have a slide. For example, this slide here, this is one slide, so it's kind of it's not big. This is the second slide. So you can see the slides actually don't require a lot of code, right? So it's really nothing to do these slides. It's a little bit like most people are frightened by seeing this code because it looks very complicated, and I can tell you it's a little bit fraying in the beginning, but it's not even close as bad as you believe it is if you just give it a chance. For example, this is the code for the very first slide, and this is, for example, for this slide here. So you can see there is not a lot of code actually doing this. Okay, so we really have just image including and a few diffs juggled in each other. Then of course I like these very brief transition slides where you kind of you ask a question to kind of keep the story going, and Webslides makes it perfect to kind of do that in a code fashion, right? So here it's very simple to create anything like this. Also note that for these, this is for the more complicated way. I load a graph, but I actually load it from another HTML file, but I could also load it from the internet. So it's not a lot of effort to actually do any of this. This slide here, I wanna specially mention it because it is actually this slide here. So you see you have a heading here, and you have then on the right side these two items, and they're beautifully connected. And it's just not a lot of code, right? The whole magic behind it is I wrote some code to glue it together. So I have here this heading. This is the heading you saw on the left side. And I just have to give it a class called left item. And anything on the right side, I just have to give it a class right item. And these are just list components. So I start a new column here. This is the right column. This is the left column. In it, I put a list. This is a list item, right? and this gets the class, so it's entitled in its entirety. I give it a strong kind of heading and then a paragraph to describe it. And that's it, you know, like it's very easy to actually code this. I can give you an example so you understand that this is not even as bad as you think. So in the beginning, of course, we make a section. We give it the BG Apple theme from Webslides. It kind of makes things dark, a dark theme, you can say. And the warp class is something I have to fix a few things with the BG Apple. And then of course we need a div as a main container, and it's a grid because we will have 2 columns, right? I will make it also vertical align and give it a size 60%. This is also a utility class. And then what I will do is I will create 2 columns. Okay, so you can see from this little code I just wrote, it's a very compact way it gets expanded. And then you have these this already laid out. Okay, and then you can already start off. You can give it a heading like here, for example, yo, and on the other side I can just write some text like blah blah blah, right? And when we go here, you see it's already there. This is how it looks like. Nothing impressive. But then we wait, I forgot to toggle the screen. Okay, here it is. Nothing impressive. But then we can go back and we can just, for example, then give it the class left item. And here we can give it the class right item. I hope it works fine. I actually didn't test it. That's never a good idea. Yeah, and here we go. You can see it's already connected, right? And I did do almost nothing to do this, such a beautiful art piece. And this is the magic of when you with Webslides prepare your stuff, right? And yeah, so it's super cool, really enjoyable, and yeah. So a little bit to some magic still. The warp effect, some might be interested. I actually use a library from a dude whose name I forgot. Wait, I noted it down. Was Federico Docena. Really, really cool. I saw it on his webpage and was like, wow, this is for Webslides. And I kind of implemented here in the lower section where I initialize the warp speed effect on the background, and then every time I have a change listener, the slide changes, I kind of give it a boost, right? I give a kick in the butt basically, and then it slows down again. So I also do other stuff with the animated tabs and so forth, like all this magic, the typewriter, and other things I like to do down here, and it works all pretty fine. So this is how kind of like a Webslides presentation looks like, and it, like I said, it's no magic, it's not even hard. And what I love the most about these Webslides is just it forces you to do clean slides, like what you do in PowerPoint to drag around this stuff and position it here. If you compare these slides to a PowerPoint slide, you would say they're almost empty. And this is how slides should be. There should be a clear message. If you have 3 bullet points, for example, that's the upper limit of a human being able to process usually. Like if you have 7 bullet points, you can toss your slide away. People will not follow it. And never forget, a presentation is for presentation, not documentation. You don't clutter up this stuff. And what I just love about Webslides is it forces you to be clean. It forces you to be concise and not to crap up your whole slides, and really, really keep it tight to transmit a very clear, very, very easy digestible message without any of the unusual or unnecessary annoyances around. Please note that these are a little bit too fancy, these slides. For example, if you would do a good presentation, I will make a video, like I said before, about it. You wouldn't implement usually these animations because motion attracts the eye, and they would start to not focus on the topics and text. which is not good. I'm used to it now, so for me it's fine. But for most of your listeners, emotion is an attraction. Never forget it. So I hope you liked the video, and I hope you like the schema and the template of this Webslides. And like it, please, if you enjoyed it. And you can find the code on GitHub. I will upload it and still alter it a little bit. So hopefully you can find some inspiration in it. Try it out. And if you really want to make, if you want to make a quick presentation as a summary, do use PowerPoint if it needs to be really, really fast, because you will need a little bit more time with Webslides, especially in the beginning. But if you really kind of want to focus on good presentations where you have a little bit of time to invest to do them, do it in Webslides, and you will blow away anyone because of the cleanliness of the whole thing. So finally, thank you very much, and like us, subscribe us, and see you next time.